Hi all, welcome back. So in the last session, we have discussed about a vision and strategy, or else we can call it as an orientation, like what exactly we are going to do. So today we'll be working a hands-on. So what exactly we are going to do? So we are going to build the lab environment that carries us through this entire course. So by the end of this session, you will have a running cluster, that is Kubernetes cluster. Then we'll be doing this Kubernetes cluster with the gateway API. Okay, so we are not going to use Ingress because that might be deprecated. It has already been removed, but it is still working. But in coming days, it will be deprecated mostly. So we'll be using gateway API, and also we'll go with cert manager installation as well. And we'll create a project workspace which we can go and work on. Right. So now, why this matters? This is very, very important. Whatever we are doing, why this matters? Because now you might be thinking that you already have Docker, you might already have kubectl installation. So you might be thinking to skip this session. But my answer is don't skip this session, because whenever you are working as a platform engineer, or if you're working in platform teams, right, most of the time we'll be losing entire sprint, okay, because of some issues. What is that? Because what is those issues I'm talking about? For example, if you have a Helm version, okay, and you are using Helm version with 3.11, and everywhere else, when I'm saying everywhere else, instead of your local version, everywhere the version is 3.14. Your team might be using 3.14, your complete organization has shifted to 3.14, but your local machine is working on 3.11. Here the problem is, whenever you do this, whenever there is a version mismatches, chat or the Helm chat will just silently behave differently. I'm not talking that it will give error. Okay, so there is no error. But what exactly it is doing, it will do, or it will behave differently. So it will be very tough for you to find out what is the issue, right? So as a platform engineer, okay, so whenever we are working as a platform engineer, our whole job is to eliminate randomness, right? We don't want to do anything in random. So we should eliminate the randomness, and which starts with the setup, right? So every tool, whatever the tool we are doing, okay, so every tool we will verify, and every version we are using will pin that version, right? And also every step we should see it as reproducible. This is very, very important, right? Every tool we should be verified, and every version should be pinned, and every step whatever we are doing should be reproducible. That is the reason why this is very much matters. So here's what we will do in step by step. Okay, so first we will verify every tool in our tool chain, that is Docker, kubectl, kind, Helm, Node.js, Git, everything. Okay, so we'll be checking for the exact versions. This is very, very important. Okay, so whatever the version I'm using, okay, so I hope like you should be having the same versions. Otherwise, like I said, it will be a mismatch. Then your code or whatever we are working, it will silently behave differently, and you will see no errors, but whatever you want to achieve, you will be not doing that. So that is why we'll verify every tool in our tool chain, right? How we are going to do? Okay, so I'll give you and I'll show you the exact version check commands, so that you can run those commands and see like what exactly we need to run. Then we'll create a kind cluster using a config file not just kind create cluster, but we'll use a config file for that. Okay, so we'll try to use a config file so that everyone, okay, so like whoever are watching or who are running this, okay, so we'll have the same patterns. So, and also we'll be doing a proper multi-node setup with a control plane and 2 workers. Remember that, okay. So we'll be deploying the kind cluster. After that, we'll install the gateway API, which is very important, and we'll install cert manager, right? Because we will need both when we get to Backstage and Argo CD. Okay, so whenever we are working with Backstage and Argo CD, these two things, that is gateway API and cert manager, are required. So finally, we'll set up our project directory structure. So now I'm already into my terminal. If you see, I'm already typing in my terminal instead of going into a whiteboard or something. Okay, so now first thing is we need to look at the readme file for this session. So if I do pwd, I'm already into platform engineering master class, which have module section. In modules, you have section 00, that we are into the orientation. Then we have environment bootstrap. Now if I do ls, I have my readme file. Let me go to VS Code to show you clearly. Okay, I'm into my VS Code. If I go into the modules, you will have section 0, environment bootstrap. Then here I'll go with the readme.md file. So if you see here, this is my bootstrap environment, like standardized local and lab setup first to eliminate onboarding drift and environment specific failures later in this course. So minimum toolchain, we need to have Docker v24 version 24 plus, kubectl version 1.28 plus, kind will be going with 0.20 plus, Helm will be going with 3.14 plus, Node.js you can have version 18 or version 20 LTS, and Backstage is require Node.js. So that is the reason why we will be installing the Node.js as well. Then you need to have your code editor as VS Code recommended, or else you can go with anti-gravity or whatever the IDE you have. Then you should have your Git as well. So here OS specifics, you can have Docker desktop in Mac, or you can go with Colima. In Windows, use Docker desktop with WSL integration enabled. So this is what. Otherwise you can go and do this in proper Linux virtual machine as well. So where I have my Linux virtual machine, so inside a Linux virtual machine I am doing this. So if you want to verify your core toolchain, you just go and run this. Okay, so what I am doing, I am just creating a file called validate-setup.sh. So whenever you create any file, so what you need to give, you need to give the permission to that file. So how you give permissions to this file in Linux, I'll go with chmod then plus x validate-setup.sh. Now I'll do /validate-setup.sh. So if you see here, so I have Docker with 29.2.1, Git version as version 1.31.0, and I have kind version 0.23.0, and I have Helm. Node.js, I don't have Node.js installed. Okay, so Git, I have Git version. So you need to verify what exactly it is there and what exactly you don't have. So first thing is that you might be not having a kind cluster. So we'll try to create a local cluster first. So I'll go to my readme file here. If you see, I'll create a cluster config file here. Now if I do ls, okay, so I have my kind-config.yaml. If you see what we are doing, we are going to create one control plane and two worker nodes. Don't worry if you don't have any knowledge on Kubernetes, we'll do a Kubernetes refresher. But I hope you already know Kubernetes. That is very, very important. Otherwise, we'll be doing a Kubernetes refresher. But the most important thing is you should know Kubernetes. Otherwise, this course cannot move forward. So next, what I'll do, I'll just do kind create cluster with the -config kind -config.yaml file. Okay, so in this YAML file, we have already seen we are creating a cluster with one control plane and two worker nodes, and I'm giving this as idp-lab. Okay, so I'll wait for this to get created. Okay, so it says my kind cluster is got installed, and also it has given me a tip saying that just go and run the cluster info command. So now what I'm doing, I'm just doing kubectl cluster info --context kind -idp-lab. So now if you see, core DNS is running and my Kubernetes control plane is running in my local server. Now what I will do, I'll just do kubectl get nodes. Okay, so now if you see, I have one control plane and two worker nodes, right? The most important thing again here, so if you don't have kubectl installed in your system, you need to install kubectl. If you don't have Docker installed in your system, you need to install Docker. Okay, so whatever the tools which we have ran and seen that if it is not installed, you need to install them. So here I am directly installing my Kubernetes, okay, so that I can show you the kind cluster. So now what we are going to do, so now we have my now we have our cluster ready. So now what we'll do is we'll install essential Kubernetes add-ons. So we'll need these add-ons in later part in gateway API. Like gateway API we required for backstage Argo access, and cert manager is for secure webhooks, so which will be doing in the later parts like in Argo CD and also in backstage. So right now what I will do is I'll go and create a gateway API CRDs. So now I will go to my VS Code and I've already given you the command here. So you just copy this, you can paste this here and enter. Okay, so it has applied my gateway API CRDs, that is my custom resource of gateway API. Then we'll go and deploy Envoy gateway. Okay, so we'll be using Envoy gateway. So I'll just go to my readme file and I'll add this repo. I'll add the Envoy gateway and also, okay, it's not a valid chat. Let me check the valid chat. Okay, now let me add this again. Let me install this again. I'll paste this, enter. Okay, so it says please be patient, Envoy gateway may take a few minutes to install. Okay, so release name is EG, we have given it as EG. Then you can go with helm status EG-n envoy gateway-system. So what I will do is I'll run this command, okay, and I'll be waiting for this to get ready. Okay, so my Envoy gateway is running right now. Okay, so if you see, this is completely running. So now what we'll do is we'll go and install cert manager as well. Okay, so I'll just go and add these commands. Okay, so what we are doing, we are adding a repo using helm, then we are doing our repo update, then we'll be installing the cert manager. We'll wait for this to get complete. Okay, so now if you see kubectl get all -n cert managers, my pods, okay, so and my services are, everything is up and running. So it is waiting on the job. Okay, so we'll see that. Okay, so it will come into the complete state anyway. Next thing is when I go into my readme file, okay, so you need to set up the project workspace. So you can create mkdir-artifacts or you can create mkdir-platform. Okay, so and under platform you can create apps, infra, docs, scripts. Okay, so you can create this structure, which I already have, so I'm not creating. You guys can go and create this, right? So that is it for this session. So I hope you guys will go and install the kind cluster and also the tools which are required. Okay, so go and install Docker, kubectl, kind, helm, node.js, git and code editor. So code editor, I'm using VS Code. You can use any code editors. So in the next session, we'll go and see the cloud cost guardrails. Why it is very important, we'll discuss in that session. Thanks for watching this video and have a great day. Bye.